Thank you for joining me, especially during this little lunch chat. I'm glad we can catch up.
Thank you, Elle, for having me. I'm so excited. And for those of you listening, if you can hear some awesome tunes behind me, that's because I'm at a really nice coffee shop and having a golden turmeric latte and enjoying my life, enjoying my best life during the Rona.
Well, I think this is important because that's what we want to talk about is living your best life with the circumstances that we have. And I know right now we're in the middle of the summer and the pandemic has not gone away. And we are trying to find a way to stay healthy, stay sane during this time. So I wanted to talk to you because personal finance has some great principles, but I also think there are some misconceptions and certain attitudes that can be harmful to many people, especially as they're trying to tackle their goals. So I kind of want to talk to you about this. How do you live well on less?
So one of the things that I would say is in 2020, we're all familiar with all of these ways to save money.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the marriage of technology and financial goals is so interesting to experience and observe during this time. Like, we're really at an advantage because there's so many things out there that are created to help us win with money, especially in those areas that we struggle with. As far as just living our best life and doing it for less, one of the things I've spent a lot of time thinking about several years ago was how do I want to live my life?
Mm-hmm.
And I was commuting 30 plus miles a day. They were actually working on the highway at the time. So a 30-mile commute, should have been like 45 minutes or whatever, was typically 2 hours each way.
Oh gosh! Okay. Wow.
And and so I was commuting with the same people for years, and we would just sleep on the bus because it was a really nice bus, whatever. And we'd fall asleep and then wake up and be in the town that I worked in. And I was just like, what am I working for? Like, what is this? How I want my life to be?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was that I had a lot of debt. I had a lot of things going on. And then finally one day I was just like, I need to start trying to figure this out because I don't want to live like this. And so I started, and I should say I had a huge financial mess. So I had thousands of dollars of debt. I just had a lot going on.
And what was the mix? What was the mix of it, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what kind of debt?
I had a bazillion credit cards, like lots of little credit cards. Like, it wasn't even that they had lots of large credit limits. It was just a lot of them. I had random little, amounts of personal loans, like someone loaned me money, like just lots
little
of
things
that built up over time and became a huge financial mess. And for people who have never experienced like having creditors call you or having more than one debt, it is horrible. I was getting, at the height of it all, I was getting calls, text messages, letters, and emails, typically from the same creditor, multiplied by like 30. So it was a lot of stress that I was dealing with. And for things that I couldn't even remember that I purchased. So one of the things I thought about was like, how can I just lower my overall overhead in general? Like, I'm paying all this money. I have to like find some money to pay off the debt. And this is like crazy. Like, I got to figure this out. So I started methodically going through my budget. So I started I had to do a couple things. One is I had to acknowledge who I was as a person. Like, I'm not a fast food person. I'm not going to eat bad food to save money. I'm not going to not live my life. Like, there were certain things that I was just unwilling to stop doing. I believe with food in particular, that food is medicine, and that it would make no sense for me to eat poorly and then get sick when I was already stressed out, like was already physically unwell. So to exacerbate that made no sense. I knew that I wanted organic groceries. I knew that I wanted to take trips within reason. So there were just certain things that I was like, okay, this is what I value. This whole conversation of look at your budget, know what you value. And then I was like, how can I do this for less? So for example, with groceries, I started, instead of shopping multiple times during the week, which I just had a habit of shopping multiple times during the week, I just went shopping once a week. It was a small thing. It saved me a lot of time because clearly I didn't have a lot of time with the 4 hours a day commute, commuting. So I just literally was like, this is what I need to pick up once a week. And that was it. And maybe I would go also to the farmer's market if it was during the summer season. So maybe it would be 2 times, but like very quick, easy. And my grocery bill dropped significantly, actually, just by doing that one thing.
See, I think that's fascinating there. I don't want to interrupt you, but I thought that was great. You pointed that out because a lot of times in personal finance, there's a lot of advice thrown out. And one of it, is like almost a badge of honor. We spend so cheaply, whether it's food or whatever. And that's how we save and pay down the debt. But what you're saying is you pause to define your priorities.
Yes.
And then honed in on that and then try to, still what you valued was your health with, finding cheaper ways. That's fascinating. Because I think we have a desire to, not to just spend money to spend money, but we're in such a rush to get that quick fix of dropping the spending that we don't look at, well, what are you working towards? It's not just saving money, trying to align yourself and your spending to what matters to you. So I thought that was fascinating.
I like the whole align yourself. So I was already out of alignment with all the debt. So where I could be aligned with my values, I tried.
Yeah.
Another thing I valued was fitness. And so I was like, okay, maybe right now I can't really do a lot of classes, or maybe I want to take classes. How can I do that? So the city of Denver has free classes that they teach, provided by the city of Denver, like hip hop.
So how do you find resources like that? I'm curious.
Just literally, I knew about it because I know my town, but a lot of times you'll find it online, like on Facebook events. Actually, it's a really good place to start. Instagram. Right now, it's a little tricky because we're still kind of finding our footing during COVID. But even now, recently I found a yoga studio here in Denver that is woman-owned, black woman-owned, and they have made it a priority, like part of their mission, to offer free yoga to people of color. So now I'm going to be adding that into my fitness regimen. I also trade hours for fitness. So
how does that work?
Even now, so I actually, this is weird. Literally 2 weeks before the shutdown orders happened in my state, I had signed on to do a work exchange. And literally the goal, all I was supposed to do was run really easy, quick errands occasionally, and then clean the studio every once in a while, every other week. Super easy. Then coronavirus happened and the scope of work changed. And so I ended up doing more crafting newsletters. So I didn't have to write them. I just had to do the final edits, which was super easy.
Gotcha.
And then I got all this free fitness since March.
No, but that's important because also too, fitness can be expensive. A lot of, categories that people spend can be pricey, especially fitness. Sometimes we go overboard and get all this equipment, but you found ways to kind of hack it so that you still are getting the fitness, and health benefits, but you're not spending a ton of money. That's been
well. And also I wanted to have the actual experience that I wanted. So I didn't want to, I can do YouTube videos, but I don't enjoy them as much. I I value in-person classes. Those are a lot more interesting for me. So that's the other piece too. It's like, yes, I could have just totally foregone classes altogether and just done YouTube videos. But for me, that wasn't a good fit. The other thing that I did was I signed up for meetups. And this is very specific to where you live, but we have a lot of really fitness focused meetups in Colorado.
Gotcha.
So at the time that we're recording this, the day after we record this, I'm going on a backpacking weekend. And I'm going to get like thousands of steps in. I'm going to get nature. And so I did a lot of that too, and still do. And those were free. And so I would carpool with someone. We would go up to, with a group. We would go to the mountains. And it was just an incredible experience. So if you're a person of color and you're like, I'm nervous about the outdoors, there are groups for that. So there are literally meetup groups for people of color and allies to go and be out in nature. I belong to all kinds of groups. So, because I grew up going outdoors, but I just look for a lot of ways to do the same thing for less. And then the other piece is if you're like, well, what about the equipment? I had friends who moved and they gave me their snowboard.
Wow.
so I got a free snowboard. And so I got a lot of free equipment, but you can also go to like Goodwill and get very inexpensive equipment, or companies that all they do is sell outdoors equipment. The other thing I looked at was transportation, because I'm not really a car person. I actually learned to drive as an adult, and it was learning to drive as an adult.
I'm proud of you.
I will forever be grateful to my Russian friend Nydia and my Colorado friend who got in the car with me and taught me how to drive, and my Colorado friend Ashley. And that saved me a lot of money, because if I'd paid for lessons, it would have been very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But what I did, which was insane, was I actually bought a used car cash for like $1,500.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to drive because I owned a car. Like I had to learn. And so my friends would get in the car that I owned, and I would learn to drive in my car. And they would just meet me at my house, and we'd just pop into the car, and that's how I learned. Now I actually don't have that car. I use a car share instead. So I've found that as a single woman without babies, I don't need to have a car all the time, because I also live by the light rail and I bike. So for me, I was like, maybe I don't need to own a car, because I'm not a car person, clearly. And so I now use a car share. I'm obsessed with it. Last week, I went on a road trip. I actually kind of made a mistake, because right now they're running a 5-day special for $245. And then like the first 100 miles are free, or something like that. So I made a mistake, and I rented it for 2 or 3 days and paid $160. So I will only do the week-long rental moving forward, because I clearly overpaid. Yeah. But for 2020 so far, I think that I'll have paid $450 for transportation.
Wow, great job.
Not even. And that's including a trip that I'm taking a couple weeks from now for Camp 5. So if you have 2 cars and you live in a city that has a car share, I would strongly recommend, and you don't have small kids, I would say really give using a car share a second look. I pay $12 a month to be a member. I upgraded my personal membership for the highest level of insurance. So I have $1 million policy that I paid into. So if something happens and I'm in the car, I'm covered like a significant amount of coverage. And I think that's great. So this year, January through April, I think I spent $50 on transportation. And it's so cool, because the program that I use is actually a nonprofit here in Colorado. So it's not a for-profit. And they have hybrid cars that they specifically focus on. I care about the earth. So it's really in alignment with how I like to live my life. So I really care about my footprint. And so I'm really happy with the program. I'm obsessed with the RAV4 that I drove last week. That's my favorite car in the fleet, but it's not close to my house. So normally I have to go downtown to get the RAV4. So I went on my road trip. I got the RAV4 and that was a lot of fun. And it's cool because you get to test out these cars before buying them. So yeah, this for the rest of the summer, I'm going to spend about $245 for the next time that I drive a couple weeks from now. And then in August, I'll take another road trip. It'll be another $245. And then for the rest of the year, it's probably going to be like $30 a month. That's significantly, that's not hitting $1,000 per year.
I mean, the average car payment right now for a new car is like $500 and change. I want to say $530. And I believe for a used car, it's like $385 a month. And that's not counting car insurance on top of that and, fuel and all that maintenance. So that's a really clever hack. I do want to kind of switch gears because
literally that was a pun.
Okay, my husband would be proud of that. But I do want to talk about you. Since I've known you, you have built different income streams as a successful businesswoman. You're an author, you speak, you are running this course to help other people pursue their dream of writing. You have 2 podcasts, Square State, all about Colorado, and Michelle is Money Hungry. So you are managing a lot. I want to talk to you. One, how do you step back and kind of recharge yourself so you're not burning out? And then how do you view self-care? Because that's kind of thrown around, and I hate now that I see it more in advertisements than actual conversations.
So for me, I think with entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs will try a lot of things, and it's a really exhausting part of the journey, I find, because you're trying to figure out what's the right fit for you, especially as a digital entrepreneur, where it's very intangible, right? There's a lot of what you do is very intangible. You're waiting for feedback, you're looking at downloads, you're looking at page views, things like that. So maybe you get 100,000 page views, but then no one emails you, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what I found with online entrepreneurship was that it just was so confusing, what was the right fit. And it just took a while for me to figure out what worked well for me energetically. And it was really tiring because it was a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall, to be honest. This year, I am really in refinement mode. So, when people are like, oh, that person's an overnight success. And they're like, dude, I've been at this for 7 years. That's kind of the experience that I'm having where I've been at this for years now. And so I'm at that point where I'm really refining what I know, right? Yeah. So I'm at the point where I've just had enough lessons that I know what doesn't work for me. So example, what doesn't work is I don't do coffee meal. I don't do pick your brains.
Oh, so yeah.
I don't do that. That's time I could be making money. I don't. So that's a boundary that I set because I already create free content and I already have podcasts and websites and I do stuff on my Instagram and all that. So I don't need to do these one-on-ones. So I started meeting people and saying, hey, when it came up, if you want to meet with me, you can just pay me what you want. And then that's actually proven to be lucrative. So I got a payment this week from a person that I spoke to and coached on stuff, and nothing crazy. We had a really good conversation, but I could have made the mistake of being like, well, yeah, it's great if you pick my brain. And that hour that I could have made that with other money, now I'm pissed off and resenting you because I didn't value my time first.
Yeah.
So just being really clear about the boundaries you set as an entrepreneur is so key. One of the easiest things I did with the biggest impact was changing my email responder. I cannot explain what a big difference it made. Because what I did was I was like, look, I'm available Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4. And then on Friday, I'm available half the day and then I'm out. And what happened was it was very clear to people what to expect from me. So it wasn't just that I was like, I'm not available. It was like, I'm not available now. This is what I'm doing, usually in the mountains. When I get back, this is when I'll connect with you, 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
That one change has saved me so much hassle.
I love that.
So much hassle. And so that was an unexpected like bonus for self-care. Like, it was just fabulous. I think the other thing too is just saying no and being very like, don't explain your no. Like, a lot of people are like, well, no, and this is why. No one cares why. Just say no and move on. So I don't explain my no's. I just say no, and that's it. That's it. The other thing with self-care is because I work online, I can choose where I work. And so I will make a point of going into the mountains and staying for a few days in the mountains and just decompressing. I did that last week. I went to a town called Salida, really, really beautiful town in Colorado, which has the oldest historic district in the state, or the largest historic district in the state. And I just like chilled out. It was so great. I got work done there, actually. It was really funny. I was referred to do a project the night before. Like, they're like, hey, this is like a quick turnaround. You down? I was like, yeah, because I got paid $300 to write about Juneteenth. And I felt like that, and it was a great post. Actually, I was kind of shocked at how good it was. So I was like, for an hour and a half, I hustled. I got it done. In the car, I thought about it as I drove down for a couple hours, typed it out, and then I still enjoyed my time. So I think really making sure to get away and to recharge and re-energize yourself is so important. I think people just keep going and going and going, and it doesn't serve them or their business well, to be honest.
Yeah, that's key. I know as parents, for us, we have to have like our alone time. And my husband and I are complete opposites. So I'm the morning person, like straight up the morning routine that you read about, like 5 o'clock in the morning. But for me, that is when I can have that quietness that I need to think, whether it's for work, for relaxing, like for me to be my best self. That's my time. And my husband's more the night owl, and that's his time. So, I mean, finding even if you can't physically get away, you got to regularly schedule some kind of time to recharge, have that solitude, It can also be outdoors. I've been doing a lot more walking in the neighborhood, still, of course, social distancing, but, self-care doesn't always have to be like buying this product, taking this expensive, retreat. It's finding pockets of time you can use however you see fit.
And I should also mention about the retreats, because this is actually an important thing to mention. When I go to the mountains for my retreat, I stay at a hostel. And it is like my favorite hostel ever, and I'm obsessed with it. You've seen so many pictures of this hostel. They are actually, so I pay $35 a night, including breakfast. They have a hot tub. Like, it is awesome. They're actually opening another property in Telluride, Colorado. At the end of this, I cannot wait. And so I will be reserving my space. Because of coronavirus, I don't feel comfortable really in the same room with people. So before I would be fine with it. So now I'm going to pay a little more to reserve my own space, which is fine. So instead of paying $35, it's $100. So it's significantly more, but the value to me and my well-being is so key that I'm okay with it. It's not like I'm always, it's like, I'm not always doing that. And then after the coronavirus, I'm going to switch back to what I was doing anyway. But right now I have to manage my health and wellness.
Yeah. I think that actually kind of circles back, and a good place to wrap up, because we see money, as we've been writing about personal finance, as a tool, right? But I think a lot of times when you're starting it, some people see it as the goal, right? You're paying down a certain amount of debt, or if you're in the, FI space, you're talking about how much you're saving, but at the end of the day, that's not really what you should be using to gauge. I think you should look at time. How am I able to spend my time? Am I spending the time with the people and the projects that matter most to me? Even if you're not, at your retirement number, can you little by little make decisions with your money to bring you one step closer, either, more flexibility or more options when it comes to things that you need for self-care and taking care of others. And then finally, even if you decide to give more, like a lot of people I've seen, once they reach a certain amount of financial freedom, this natural outcourse is, how can I help others? And it can manifest in so many different ways. So I love how you've done such an incredible job of not just saving money, which is great, but making sure that your money is moving in the direction that matters to you.
And I want to say two things. One is, I am nowhere near the savings that I want to have. Because remember, I've been paying off debt. So I have to be very candid about that. Mm-hmm. But I accidentally slow fired 5 years ago. And so I want people to really think about, how can you design your life that you're working towards. So how do you live your life now that you dream of, especially if you're in the fire space, right? All these fire people are so focused on the numbers, but I'm really focused on their life. So in March, when everything got shut down, and I was like, I am so thankful that I slow fired accidentally 5 years ago, and I'm living my life, and I've learned how to make money outside of 9 to 5. I was really, because there are moments when I have doubts, maybe this was the dumbest thing I could have ever done.
Yeah.
Actually, this spring has reconfirmed and that I did the right thing.
Yeah.
I am so happy that I took a stand for my life and decided to do what was best for me at the time. I don't know that I would have been happy waiting 10 years to live how I lived for the last 5 years.
I hear you on that.
You know what I mean? So I can go see my mom when I feel like it. I can, if I needed to go to the doctor, I can go whenever. If I want to go to a road trip, I can do that. Did that last week. Want to go, want to finish my work today, I do.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't easy, especially because I worked for myself. It was very hard, and I had debt, which made it really hard. Mm-hmm. But I don't regret it at all. I'm so thankful that I made those hard choices, because I've had 5 years of living a really wonderful, challenging life, but life is challenging, right? So I just picked my challenge. And now, ironically, things are, because I've put in all these years of hard work, things are so much easier for me now, right? Mm-hmm. So making money online is easier. Podcasting is easier. Helping other people is easier. Every year, spending all that time.
Yeah.
So there's that.
That's awesome. So, Michelle, like I mentioned, you have a lot of projects going on, and I know people listening want to connect more with you. So do you mind mentioning just a few ways that they can reach out and connect and join your community?
So I run a website podcast called Michelle is Money Hungry. Mm-hmm. I love to talk about all things lifestyle design, entrepreneurship, and personal finance. I'm really interested in the conversation about earning more versus trying to out-frugal your life. I want you to earn more wisely. So an example of that is, I just got contracted to do a fun freelance post. Mm-hmm. I now freelance again. I stopped doing it for 9 months. I only work with clients I like. I literally am just testing out fanny packs. So I'm going to test out fanny packs when I hike normally. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to use that as the piece of equipment that I use during my hike. And then I will go on several hikes that I normally do, because I hike every week. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to get paid to share my experience with this product. And that's an ongoing project. So I'll test out other outdoors equipment.
Nice.
Sometimes I can keep the equipment. Sometimes I can give it away, whatever. Okay. You're going to pay me a couple $100 to do that? No problem.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of thing. I want people to really maximize their time and their earnings. You can follow me on Twitter at Mitch, M-I-C-H, not M-I-T-C-H. So Mitch Loves Money. Or on Instagram at Michelle is Money Hungry. And I also run a course, Make Money with eBooks, but right now it is being worked on. So that's on hiatus. And I've launched an academy called Make Money with eBooks Academy, or MWA, as I like to, MWA, like, like a kiss.
Yeah.
That's what I call it now, because I think it's hilarious. Where I really support would be first-time nonfiction or fiction authors get their books out in the world. So definitely check that out. And that's at michellesmoneyhungry.com/academy. So
Awesome.
Check it out.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I've always enjoyed chatting with you.